Hi everyone, welcome back to my small farm. I'm going to be planting peas today, but before I do that, I have a few extra little things to do. Before I plant my peas, I'm going to give them a nice drink of water, make sure they're thoroughly watered so the roots are nice and wet and moist. So if the soil is a little bit dry, they'll still be okay. An easy way to tell if you're watering enough is just to lift the end of the tray or pick up the tray. If it's light, you know that there's not enough water. If it's heavy, like these are a little bit heavier than when I first started, I can tell the water is getting down deeper into the tray. Normally I wouldn't soak them this much, but because I'm planting them now, I'm going to give them a really, really good soak. Well, I finally got my watering done and I'm going to be heading out to the field to do some planting. So let me show you what I've got here set up. I've got my peas, got a measuring tape just in case I need it, a string line. I've got my little trowel. It's a very narrow one that I use for planting. My dibbler that I'm going to use for marking out the rows, not the rows, spacing of the plants. A kneeling pad. Oh, and my special measuring stick. It's a 4-foot measuring stick. I measure it every 6 inches, and that is just really helpful for measuring out things and doing things. So let's head out to the field and get started. A couple days ago, Robert rototilled the beds for me, so they're all ready to go. I put compost on one of them. Here's the area I'll be planting into. I've got one bed here, and that's where I'm going to start. Then my second bed, and then my third bed. So as the peas grow up a little bit, that's where I'll be going. I just noticed I forgot to bring my rake to fill in those holes. Just like I did in the high tunnels, I need to make sure the ends of the rows are evened out because the rototiller can make a bit of a dip there and kind of mess up the pattern of the row and cause a bit of problem for water to pool and also making it a little bit harder to plant. Now that that's done, I'll be pulling out a string line to make sure my row is nice and straight. And I'll have to do a little bit of measuring to make sure I've got the right distances between all the rows. I'm going to be putting these rows about 5 feet apart, and that way I have enough room in between for getting down my row for picking all these peas. Then I'm just going to run down the row with my string. Just do a little line to make sure it's nice and straight. Then I just need to unhook my little stick at the end. And I can roll my string back up. I've got that first line marked. Handmade wooden string line that my dad made years and years ago. It's like a family heirloom, this thing. I remember it being around ever since I was a kid. The strings had to be changed a few times, and the sticks get changed, but there's little grooves in the sticks, and it works amazingly. And after that, I'm just going to get my dibbler, and I'm going to decide where I'm going to start my first plant, and I'm going to run down the row with the dibbler, and it'll just give me a little mark wherever I should be planting. So I'm just going to pull my tray of peas along with me. You can see they're quite root bound, but that's okay. They'll spread out. Just push them down. Probably going to come back and put some plants in between here, but for now I'm just going to go on the spacing that I have. I find planting the peas in trays works better than planting seed directly into the ground. Here I have some wireworm issues sometimes, and the seeds get eaten up, or the soil is cold, and this is the fastest way to get peas going for the season, is to plant them ahead of time and transplant them, which might be difficult if you have a very large property. but for a little farm like myself, this works great. These trays that I've used have 72 cells in each tray, and I find generally 2 trays is enough for one 50-foot row of peas. I grow 3 50-foot rows in succession, so I'll be picking first one row, then start out the other row just as the first one is finishing. I'm just going to finish up my last couple plants from this tray, and I didn't have quite enough to make it to the end of the row. So what I'll be doing is grabbing the other tray, filling into the end of the row, and then filling in the gaps in between, and I'll be done. So there was a few that didn't germinate from this tray, but most of them did, so they did fairly well. Here's my nice row, all done. Decided to give my peas a little bit of water just to help them out to get going. Watering them with a watering can way down at the bottom of the field is not ideal, but I don't have my irrigation set up yet, so this will have to do for a couple times until that gets done. One of the things about farming is always learning valuable lessons. And last year I learned a very valuable lesson about covering the peas when I plant them so the quail don't eat them. So this year I'm going to make sure that I'm doing that. I'll be putting in these hoops that I have and all along the row. And then I'll be putting in insect netting over top that we've used before for covering carrots and stuff, but it works really great for keeping out birds and still letting the light through, as well as some water if it rains. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Well, I've got the ribs down, I've got the insect netting on, and I've got weight bags at each of the ribs to protect the peas from the quail. So hopefully that'll be ready to go. Thanks for joining me today as I was planting my peas. Thanks for following along on my small farm. I hope you learned a few new things today that were helpful. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, please take care.